Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the best all-sports podcast in Boston.
Why?
Why not? Watch out.
Really? Oh.
Here we go.
This is the Duck Boat Report, your home for the biggest news
Boston has another championship
and the hottest takes
About the accomplishment. Woo.
in all of Boston sports.
Whoa.
Oh boy, we're getting excited.
To take you through everything happening in the City of Champions, here are your hosts, Brady Gardner
It's not really a victory lap, I'm just saying.
and Patrick Donnelly.
I'm losing faith.
How's it going, everyone? And welcome to episode 14 of the Duck Boat Report here with Patrick Donnelly. I'm Brady Gardner. Patrick, how's it going?
Well, we have some technical difficulties here, but we're working through it.
Oh, good.
How about now, Ethan?
That was
His headphone volume was jacked up,
It was pumped and jacked.
and he just
like
had
Carson
Brady
Edwards'
living in his
thighs.
brain for a little bit.
Yep.
Okay, well, we, as you can tell, have some guests in the studio today. We have Ethan Fuller here, as very frequently we do. And then on the other side of the table, we also have David Furtado. How we doing, fellas?
Great to be here, finally.
Yeah, great to be
Finally
back.
in
Yeah.
studio, but not the normal studio.
Yeah, we have 4 people on mics today. What?
I kind of like the vibe of this new room.
I like this new one.
Second
It's
time
very
here.
cozy.
It's a much better soundboard. We even have sound effects if we want to have the applause right
Oh,
now.
gosh. Hit it.
I mean,
Do
in
it.
this new studio, let's go.
Wow. Yeah, it's
That's
like a
live
closet.
audience.
We're in a closet, but it's going well. I like this new studio.
It's
Good.
cozy.
Good spot. Anyway, we got a lot to talk about today. We're going to mix in probably half finishing off our NBA preview from last week. I know that last episode rather, a couple days ago. I know these guys have a lot of hot takes that they want to spill today. A lot of things to share.
It is the first official meeting of the Brad Wanamaker fan club.
That's a good
Oh,
point.
yeah.
It is.
President
We are all here.
David Furtado is
We're
in the
all
room.
here. I will be leading the meeting. Brad Wanamaker is the best player to ever play basketball.
Ethan's
Oh,
taking
that's
the
true.
minutes.
I've got the minutes. I'm the treasurer. I have all the money.
All the money. All right. And then second half of the show, we're going to go, or maybe first half. How do we want to do this?
We'll do like first little bit. We'll do normal boss, and then
All
we'll
right.
get into the real nuts and bolts of it.
Good plan. Well, so to start us off then, we're going to do half Boston sports here, and we'll kick it off with the Patriots because that's really the biggest news right now. The Pats won 33-0 on Monday against the Jets. Anything to really react to with this game, or just another game, another blowout?
Well, you were very wrong about Sam Darnold.
Yeah, he was not great. He was seeing ghosts, and they may have been better with a ghost at quarterback because it was awful.
It was really
4
bad.
interceptions, 3, 4,
I think it was 4.
4.
Yeah,
Like
4.
Confirming the
four.
boogeyman.
like 3 in the red zone alone. Like
Yep.
Completion percentage was
All
like
back
30%.
The,
Yes.
the Patriots this season have allowed a passer rating in the red zone of 0.0.
Oh, my.
And just to go to show how good that is, if you spiked the ball every single time, you would have a passer rating of 39.6.
Whoa,
Let's go.
the Twitter stats are on
God.
fire. Love that.
And he almost looked I don't think he just looked that bad since his first game where he threw the pick on the first throw of his career. And it was a back foot throw like all these were.
Yeah, it was very different than what we saw against the Cowboys the week before, which maybe shows you where the Cowboys and the Patriots compare a little bit right now. You know, is like transitive property there.
Sure.
A beats B, B beats C, A beats C.
We'll
kind of
say
thing?
yes. We'll go with the yes.
A little
there.
math there, but we're communication students, so we don't know about that. Anyway, other Patriots news. Josh Gordon, what is going
Oh my
on here,
God,
fellas?
please.
What's happening?
You don't deserve victory lap because
Well-
this was not why you said he wouldn't be around.
That was uncalled for. I didn't even say I was going to take a
Well, I
picture.
was already waiting for it.
Nope, it's not happening.
So
I am
little
taking
tension
the
here.
high road.
Lot of
I'm upset.
We've
I'm
just
very upset.
We've talked for a long time about Josh Gordon. Can he be relied on? I always said no, he wouldn't make it through the season, but granted, it was generally in a drug-related circumstance. So the fact that he's out with an injury now,
But it's just so puzzling. It's not it doesn't seem that serious of an injury, and like what's the point of putting him on IR to wait him?
He was
to
practicing.
waive him. Yeah, and he did 22 miles an hour on the treadmill on the day it was announced, and the knee injury isn't as bad as it's apparently being made out to be. And you trade for Mohamed Sanu, and then you just cut Josh Gordon. You're right back to square one.
yeah,
Like what's the point?
I just want to know what happened in practice on Wednesday because they cut that tight end Tomlinson in the morning. Gordon was at practice, he wasn't in pads, but he was at practice.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
really
after
weird.
practice, Gordon's on the IR with the intention of getting released, and they re-signed Tomlinson.
I just don't get the point.
Mhm.
Like, what's the idea here? Because you're complaining about, or we assume Brady's complaining about the wide receivers, and he's had a great rapport with Gordon over the last year, and now he's gone, and he only really has Edelman and Dorsett to work with because we know he's not going to throw to N'Keal Harry if he ever sees the field. We know he's not going to keep throwing to Jacoby Myers. They're not going to get targets. And on top of that, he has to work with a new receiver in Mohamed Sanu.
Yeah.
Like, what is the point?
To me, it seems like there's probably a lot that we don't know because, from our perspective here as fans, and we only hear things through the media, we think, oh, this is crazy. Why are they getting rid of Josh Gordon? I think there must be a ton, you pull back the curtain and you just see how much of a mess maybe it has been with him. I don't know. That's my guess, that there's just stuff that we don't know that's going into this decision. Because it definitely seems like that. It's not just on the field that they have a problem with him. So, too bad. Might be the end of the Josh Gordon era in New England. All things point towards that. But at least Patrick has his jersey now.
Don't.
Yeah, that's
Don't.
That's a very tough look.
It's a touchy topic. Alrighty. Anyway.
Don't even.
So let's move away from the Patriots. Actually, they do take on the Browns on Sunday. Do we have any concern with Cleveland?
I want Josh Gordon to sign with the Browns.
And then play this Sunday.
Yes.
Wow.
I popped in my head right now. I want it to happen.
Him and Baker and Jarvis Landry and OBJ. Wow.
And Baker Mayfield will still throw 3 picks.
Yeah, I'm just not a Baker guy.
Yeah, I think this game looked like it was going to be a test, before the season began, and now it's just another rollover game because the Browns have been very disappointing.
Well, we'll see how they do with a real running back because they've handled Le'Veon Bell, but it's also with a terrible Jets offensive line.
True.
So we'll see how they handle Nick Chubb.
Yep, and it's going to be a rainy day too. It's going to be very wet, probably a lot of ground game.
A lot of forced fumbles by
It might
Jamie
feel like
Collins.
some ducks.
That's what I feel.
I'm thinking a lot of 1-yard gains for Sony Michel.
Oh, yes.
A lot of 1-yard
Certainly.
gains.
This
Ground
is
and
peak
pound.
Sony Michel hours.
Alrighty. So we'll move on now to the Boston Celtics, who kicked off their season in rather uninspiring fashion, losing to the 76ers by a final score of 107-93. We have our basketball analysts in the room, so what do we see from that game, folks?
A lot of missed opportunity.
So much.
Honestly, Philly was kind of what I thought they were. They're a big team. They can bang around the paint, but they didn't have a ton of shooting. They didn't shoot very well, and their bench wasn't great. So I mean, it was more the Celtics lost that game. Like they beat themselves with less than Philly coming out and just dominating and showing they're a real title contender. Which I mean, they're still title contenders, but I didn't think the Celtics looked overly outmatched. I guess is a good way to put it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean the positives for Philly, Ben Simmons looked great. It was just the same. What?
He didn't shoot any threes though.
Yeah, but I mean he's never going to. He's just doing everything he usually does. But
They had
a
video
little
of
bit
him
better.
working on that specifically
I
when no
saw-
one was in the building, and there were 3 bricks in a
Yeah,
row.
I saw his pregame warm-ups and it was just
It was
classic Ben
bad.
Simmons.
It was
yeah.
sad.
But Simmons, otherwise, I thought was just classic Simmons, and he looked good. He's obviously super strong. Matisse Thybulle was a bright spot for the Sixers, but yeah, overall, it was less about the Sixers playing well because they did like you said about what they'd expect, and the Celtics really just, especially all the guards, pretty much just got destroyed. Whether it was them missing shots or Philly playing good defense, Kemba in particular, but Edwards, even. I mean, we love Wanamaker, but even Wanamaker didn't play well. Like, all the guards just across the board were just pretty bad.
Right. So do we have any concern about Kemba? What was he, 3 for 17 field goals, 1 for 6 for 3? Is that something to be worried about?
I'm not concerned because it was a road game, tough environment, season opener, new team. I feel like there's a lot of reasons for him to, have the jitters.
True.
So I think over maybe one game, maybe it takes, a couple of games or even, a week or two, I think it'll work itself out.
Yeah.
So I'm not too concerned.
Neither am I. It was honestly, I saw something. It was he was the 7th time he's shot that bad, and he played in the league almost 9 years now.
Yeah.
So it's obviously the outlier, so it's not that big of a deal. I'm not really gonna stress about it.
All right. And then also on the injury front, so Enes Kanter with was it knee contusion? Is that what they called it? He's going to be out a couple games. Taco's out with a concussion because he hit his head against the ceiling, which is such a Taco way to go.
Poor guy. I mean...
And then, so are we worried about these injuries racking up? To me, it feels like we're one game in and they're playing small ball already.
Yeah, and they're a pretty small team
Yeah.
to begin with. I mean, obviously Taco's not going to play, and Inez isn't a giant anyway. So, yeah, they're small. It's going to be weird. I know they're playing the Raptors, who, outside of Marc Gasol, aren't a huge team, but yeah, long term, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I don't think it's going to necessarily affect them tonight. I think, if this continues to be a trend and you're going to have bigs that are hurt all the time, it's definitely going to be an issue because they really only have, 3 or 4, but they don't have that, one guy.
And I like Poirier. I don't even know if he played at all.
Le
in the last
Taco
game.
Mobile.
Yeah, he didn't play, which I was confused about because he looked really good in the
Yeah,
preseason.
I'm a fan of Poirier, and I mean Tice is solid, but I don't want him to
Yeah.
There's just not a lot of great options.
I think we saw like 75% of the Celtics. We had no Romeo Langford, no Poirier, no Taco. I think they'll turn it around here when they take on the Raptors tonight, right? Home opener?
Home opener.
Tonight.
Big
So
home
that'll
opener.
be interesting. We'll be tuning in for that one, and we'll be tuning in for Bruins Blues tomorrow back at the TD Garden where it all went down in June, but we won't talk about that. Instead, we'll talk about the Bruins getting a 4-2 win over the Leafs in their most recent game. Patrick, what'd you see from that one?
Well, takeaways outside of the actual gameplay, it's amazing to me how anytime the Bruins beat the Maple Leafs, it just all of a sudden turns into crap on the referees for no reason. But that's pretty much what I expected from both the Bruins and the Leafs. I don't think the Leafs are that great defensively, and it really showed, especially coming off the second night of a back-to-back where Mike Babcock, oh boy, it's just utter mismanagement of the goaltenders so far. He'll play Frederik Andersen in the first night of the back-to-back, and then Michael Hutchinson will go, and it's pretty much all right, well, good luck, Hutch. Don't get shelled out there. When really, it's especially like he's done it on prime time, where Frederik Andersen should be playing on the second night so we can bail his team out. And, especially if it's Saturday night on hockey night, he should be playing. But that's the least problem. The Bruins, again, this ridiculous offsides review that I won't get into. Billy Jaffe took the words out of my mouth on the broadcast. It's just so silly.
Yeah. Joel Farabee lost a goal and an assist last night because of it.
He still got his first career assist, but
Yeah,
what are we
him.
doing here, folks?
Yeah.
Like the offsides callback on the Pastrnak first goal. Bergeron maybe had his skate not touching the ice above the line, and therefore it's offsides. Well, the Leafs had, I think the Bruins took like 6 or 7 shots before the goal, and all saves, and the Leafs had chances to get it out, and there were turnovers. It's like that. It falls on the Leafs at that point.
Yeah, I think the way the rule should be, because I don't mind going back if it's possession, like continuous possession. But I feel like once the defending team has the opportunity to clear the puck, that's when it negates the offsides, right?
Yeah,
because then it's them. I don't know.
And just
Seems like an easy fix.
Looking at the game from a whole, it was great to get the depth out of Parlin, Holm, and Brett Ritchie, even though Brett Ritchie still sucks. This terrible second line we're going to see tomorrow, DeBrusk, Lindholm, and Ritchie. I have no problem with Lindholm. I think he's your Joakim Nordstrom, and he's fine in the pinch. But Brett Ritchie just stinks. And it's going to be a prove it. They called Bjork back up. He looked good. The box score numbers didn't pop, but he passed the eye test. So we'll see.
Yep. All right, and moving on, formerly active New England sport with the Revolution. I like to touch on them here, like last half of the season. It was kind of riding the Revs train, and it came to a grinding halt in the first round of the playoffs last Saturday, almost a week ago, where they fell 1-0 to Atlanta United. Just wanted to mention that. Not a ton to take away from it. Atlanta, very good team, very tough place to play down there, so you kind of had to see it coming. They did.
Players.
Yeah, good players. They did hold on for quite a while. Only gave up a goal.
Good men.
Yep, 70th minute was when Atlanta got their winner, and Revs just could not get the equalizer. They equaled in shots, 14-14, 6 shots on target to Atlanta's 5. So they put up a good fight, but ultimately were a bit outclassed by the hosts. So it'll be interesting to see where the Revs go here in the offseason, if they make some big moves, if they really go for it with Bruce Arena's first full season with the team coming up next spring. I'm looking forward to it. And speaking of jerseys that we just got, I just had a Revs jersey deliver just in time for the season to end. So I'm in a similar boat.
Onwards and upwards though for the Revs though.
That's
Revs
right.
though.
I would say so. Hopefully the Refs too, but yeah,
Especially
we've been
in
talking
NHL.
about that. Anyway, so that pretty much wraps up our New England sports portion of today's show, and we'd like to hand it back to the NBA insiders in the room, shall we say. Patrick has a sound effect for us. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
You love the applause.
I do. Well, I was gonna trying to time it perfectly with him wrapping up the segment, but he didn't see me and
sorry.
nod his head for the all clear in
I
time.
missed it.
And I didn't want to just roll with it.
We'll get better as we go, for sure. But yeah, we're gonna finish up the overall NBA analysis, I guess, preseason here. And so I know you guys have some big predictions, big takes. So without
a lot of Andrew
factoring,
Wiggins and Brad Wanamaker.
oh
thoughts
God, here we go. Yeah. So without
waited so
factoring in the results from the first game or two of the NBA season, what did you guys have in mind? The floor is yours. Go for
Yeah.
it.
How do we want to do this? We could
I just want to get my Brad Wanamaker take out there.
Do it.
Let's
he
do
should
it.
he should be the first guard off the bench for the Celtics. Maybe point guard, like running point, because Marcus Smart have him at the 2 guard. That's
Yep.
fine.
Yep.
But Brad Wanamaker, let me just pull up his per 36 minute stats, because obviously you can't go per game because he barely plays.
Yep.
So his per 36 minutes, He's averaging 14.7 points.
Yeah, it's garbage time, though. 36 minutes. Let's not forget that.
5.9 assists and 4.3 rebounds.
Against
true,
the bottom
yeah.
of the bench on the
Yeah,
other side.
I mean, there's a slight caveat, but I agree because Carson Edwards, love Carson Edwards, love his thighs, love his impact.
Oh,
Hungry
wow.
thighs.
He's going to be great, but his cold streaks when he's shooting, I mean, everyone loves to like get the Twitter viral videos going on his 8 3-point quarters, but his cold streaks are really going to hurt the Celtics. We saw it against the Sixers. He went 0 for 4, took a lot of just quick shots, and if he's not feeling it, it's really going to hurt. And I think Wanamaker's a better game manager, which isn't always a bad thing.
Yeah, I think you just have a guy who's like, he doesn't make bad plays. Like,
Yeah.
he's out there, he's not going to turn the ball over on stupid plays. He doesn't try to do too much. He's going to take the open shot if it's there. He can make the 3-ball at a good enough clip that's like you don't freak out when he's shooting, and he makes that extra pass when he has to. It's just a solid all-around player.
But isn't there more upside with Carson Edwards where, you can, if you give him playing time, he can get better? I think we know what Brad Wanamaker is, but we don't really know what Carson Edwards can get to.
Yes,
Give him the time.
there's more upside, but the issue is that the Celtics hopefully are a playoff contender, borderline Eastern Conference final team that is needs to win every game and get the entire rotation in shape. If you're like the Memphis Grizzlies, you can toss Carson Edwards in and let him kind of get into a rhythm because you're not really playing for this year.
Exactly.
But the Celtics are, and they're like almost every game. I know it's a long season, but a lot of the games are really going to matter for the Celtics. And so taking those off games for Carson Edwards is not worth the fire games for
All right.
me.
Fair enough. Okay. I know you both have a lot of national NBA thoughts, so you want to throw some out there?
Yeah, how do we want to do this?
Just
Do
say
we
it.
want to?
All right, well, this
Bring
is
it up,
just,
bring it up.
All right, this is one quick thing.
Throw
So
it out there.
I was looking up. We were talking about Wiggins Island.
Oh,
earlier,
this is
me and Pat
on
pre-show.
start here. We're starting with a bang.
Ethan's not ready for this.
I looked up
I'm
Andrew.
not-
I looked up Andrew Wiggins because I was like, oh, we could, there'd be a really fun graphic you could do Wiggins Island with like palm trees, spreading out an Andrew Wiggins face on an island.
Uh-huh.
And so I looked up Andrew Wiggins looking for like a headshot, and the first thing that comes up when you search his name on Google right now is an article from about 2 hours ago from SB Nation that says Andrew Wiggins has lost all hope for greatness.
Oh my gosh.
Now,
There's so many people overreacting to the individual game plus minus, the single worst stat in basketball, the individual defensive rating for one game. It's unbelievable.
Oh, here we go.
Now I skimmed the article, and it wasn't as bad as the headline led to.
Okay.
It was basically just
Clickbait.
saying he's going to be, a role player. He's a good role player, but he's wildly overpaid, and he's pretty much they're moving on. The author of this article is moving on from him being, that impact star player.
Yeah. I mean, fine. He's not going to live up to his Maple Jordan nickname. I get that. Whatever. But
I've never heard that before. That's
Maple
awesome.
Jordan's such a good nickname.
I really like that.
That's a good one.
it was he actually
I
has
like
so many
Wiggins more now.
he actually has so many fantastic nicknames that no one ever says because he's just not warranting them right now. But
Did we come up with Wiggins syrup brands? Maple Jordan syrup?
I would do that.
Big fan of that.
I would
Minnesota?
absolutely do
Is
that.
syrup big in
I'd buy
Minnesota?
I mean,
It's
probably
north.
because
I mean, he's from Canada.
He
It's
is
up
from
there.
Canada.
Well, yeah.
Hence the maple.
Well, I know, but people in Minnesota would be the ones to buy it since he plays there,
People in Canada.
And
close.
Ethan.
Yeah.
Minnesota's pretty close to Canada.
It is.
It's up there.
Thanks.
It's up there.
Geography.
Okay. Yeah. So
Moving on.
I don't even know where we were. What were we even talking about?
Whatever. Patrick's chair just exploded on him. That was phenomenal. Okay, we'll move on. Wasn't there some Derrick Rose thoughts on the other side of the table there?
Oh, he's gonna win.
Oh, we're ending the Wiggins conversation there?
I
Oh.
forgot what our.
Or we
what
can
was
just
the
circle back to
what
it.
was the
Yeah.
thought?
We can do either. Doesn't really matter.
Oh, it was
I
just
can-
mainly get you going about this headline that
I mean,
says
I
he's
can-
no
I-
longer
I
going to
was just poking
be
the bear.
anything.
I mean, I can get going. So
We can circle back to it.
okay, yeah. I'll buy my time. Yeah, we can talk Derrick Rose.
Yeah, no, my Derrick Rose thoughts is he's a honestly, he should be starting over Reggie Jackson at this point anyway. But if they keep him on the bench in Detroit, he's going to be a very, very legitimate six-man of the year contender. Just going through the first 2 games of the year, he's looked excellent. He had 18 points first night,
I think so. And
and
then
then he had 27 last
Yeah.
night against Atlanta. I watched the game last night. He looked really, really good. He seems to have a little bit of that quickness back. He's not as explosive as he once was, but he's also a lot smarter with the ball.
That's good.
He's a better shooter. He's playing defense at a high level, in my opinion. And he's just giving you so much off the bench for that team. And honestly, he should probably start, but for whatever reason, they want Reggie Jackson in there, and that's fine.
yeah. Off mic last night, I was a little bit more critical of Derrick Rose, but I've been thinking about it, and I think I've kind of come around a little bit more because I agree he should start because Reggie Jackson is just not good. I don't think Reggie Jackson's a good point guard at all. And Derrick Rose, he's been tricky for me as purely a Timberwolves fan. Obviously, I haven't loved him as long as you have. He has the insanely hot first half, the comeback player of the year last year, and then he was ice cold the second half of the year. But maybe being on a different team, I mean, obviously there were a ton of chemistry issues with the Wolves last year, so maybe being on that team and having that rock solid kind of foundation with the Pistons gets him there. I could see a sixth man of the year bid. My pick for sixth man of the year is JJ Redick on the Pelicans. But Rose, honestly, like if he scores like he did last night, if he averages like 16 points a game and shoots pretty well, I could see it.
And I think, like, honestly, even in, his, like, quote unquote worst times in the league, which was, probably that last year in Chicago and then the year with the Knicks.
Yeah.
And then that whole, fiasco with Cleveland and then Utah and he got cut. That whole thing there. Even with the Knicks, he was averaging almost 16 points a game.
Yeah.
So it's like, even at his worst, he was still an average role player.
Mm-hmm. He can definitely score, no doubt about that.
Yeah, I'm in on Derrick Rose for sure. I'm a very casual Derrick Rose fan. I don't know the last time I watched him, probably whenever the Celtics played against one of his teams. But I'm just like the story, and I feel like he's making a name for himself again, and he's improving the reputation.
You forget how
fixing it.
You forget that he's young. Is he what, 30?
Yeah.
It feels like he's 40.
Yeah, no, it feels because he's been in the
crazy.
league 10 years now.
Yeah.
It feels like he's been around forever.
Interesting. All right. Any other thoughts from you fellas?
How do
Just
you want-
anything.
Just anything.
Any predictions?
Just spitball.
Anything.
Just
Okay.
spitball.
Throw it out.
Anything that comes to your mind. Predictions, player, anything.
Okay,
Say
so Andrew Wiggins.
Oh my God.
Wolves played a great game on Tuesday. It's Tuesday. No, it was Wednesday. Wolves played a great game on Wednesday, won in overtime. A lot of negativity. Their biggest takeaway is that Wiggins stinks for all the terrible stats metrics that I mentioned. Now I'm going to be fair to them. Wiggins shot terribly. It was as far as offense goes, for 3.5 quarters of that game, he was horrible, and I understand that. But he turned it around, really attacked the rim later in the game. I think his effort, which has been his biggest criticism, I think he's put in a lot more effort in terms of diving for loose balls, going after rebounds. He had 8 rebounds, which, I mean, for me is pretty good. I think he's more engaged, and the shooting is going to come around as they work with the system. So it looks like it's a bad game. I actually don't feel that bad about it at all.
All right. It's a very optimistic perspective.
I mean,
Well, he
but I
did
like it.
devote an entire thread to Wiggins on Twitter.
Yeah,
and
what
when
was-
you're on the island, you deal with the
you
weather.
deal with the weather. I thought that was
That was such a good
I
ending.
read it. It was a glorious thread.
That was a good ending.
Yeah.
I gotta read that.
I mean, what else could we could do? Do you have like awards predictions? We could like really quickly run through awards predictions.
I could come up with some on the
Okay.
spot.
I mean, you could talk about Jaylen Brown's contract, you cowards.
All right.
Do you
I
wanna
think
talk
it's
about that?
I think it's a good
Whoa.
contract. I have no
Ethan
issues. I
Ethan
have no
predicted
issues with
he
it.
would get traded.
and I
It's
was wrong. I
It's a
understand.
very trade. They could honestly still trade him.
Yeah.
It's a very, very tradable contract because
Um,
now you don't have to give up Marcus Smart in any deal if you want to go try and get Karl Anthony Towns or Blake Griffin or something like that. Because now you're closer to matching the money.
Which is that is honestly. I didn't even think about that in terms of tradable salary. That works.
He's making so much more now.
yeah.
They don't have to throw in Smart.
I don't think it's a absolute steal of a contract, but I think it's solid. Like, I'm okay taking that risk on Jaylen Brown in terms of long term. Hopefully this means Hayward is either on his way out or taking a serious discount soon, because he's got a player option at the end of this year. Hopefully he declines that and signs for something cheap, or he's gone, because although Hayward had a great game last night, I'm not super high on Hayward generally. So hopefully
anyone is.
hopefully that signals that Brown and Tatum have the keys now.
Yeah, and I think the Brown contract is one of those things. If you look at it in a vacuum, you're like, wow, that's horrible.
Yeah.
But then if you look at what Ben Simmons got, what Pascal Siakam's gotten, Buddy Hield, and, Sabonis, you look at the rest of that class, and it's not all of a sudden it's not so bad.
Yeah,
because he's probably the second, third best player in that group. So I think it's Simmons at the top, Siakam, then probably Brown. I think Brown's better than Buddy Hield. So he got paid appropriately to the market. So it's like one of those things. If you look at it in the grand scheme of every extension that got signed in the last year for that class, it's not that bad.
Yeah, especially the one that really jumps out to me is Jamal Murray getting the max last year, which blew my mind, because he hasn't put together a rock solid season yet for the Nuggets, and he got maxed out, which I think is pretty crazy.
So we're closing in on the half-hour mark a little bit here, and so I think I would like to put you guys on the spot a little bit and get your 3 thoughts for MVP, Rookie of the Year, and Coach of the Year.
Yeah, so I think my MVP candidate, early favorite, kind of safe, but I got to go with Giannis just because he's still super young. He actually made 2 of 5 threes last night, which is pretty cool. So I don't see anywhere but up, and I don't think back-to-back MVPs is actually that uncommon. So in terms of just safety, I'm going with Giannis there. Rookie of the year.
Wait, let's let David
yeah,
have.
let's do it this way.
I can't speak.
I'll shake it up a little bit. I'll go Steph Curry as my MVP. I
Whoa.
think he's just going to get so much usage and so much opportunity, and he's just going to throw up crazy numbers. I mean, I don't think he played that well last night. I didn't watch much of the game. But I think he's just going to be in a position this year where he's going to have to put that team on his back if they're going to want to do anything.
Yep.
So I think that's going to lead to him being a favorite for the MVP.
Patrick, you got one?
Kawhi.
Hey.
Okay.
For no reason other than of last year's playoff run.
Yeah, best player, at least the hottest player. I got a crazy one for you. Kyrie.
Oh my God, please.
He's like the only one out there. It's Brooklyn Island for Kyrie. He's just going to take as many shots as he wants every single night, and no one cares. He's just going to put up crazy numbers. When he have 50 in
and
his
he'll
first
choke
game.
in OT.
Yep.
Well, of course he will. People won't notice that. They'll notice the box scores, and they're going to have him in the MVP conversation, just like it felt like Harden has been, where he just takes thousands of shots.
Yeah, what were the numbers last night? He had like 50, or the other night he had 50 shots.
And probably like 2 assists.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I don't know. Kyrie could put up some MVP-type numbers. That's all I'm saying. All right, Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year has actually become a lot more difficult because Zion's hurt.
Yeah.
So I'm still leaning Zion for Rookie of the Year. If I had to pick a backup because of injury, I'm probably going to go with RJ Barrett because I think he'll just get so much opportunity to score and score a lot of points. So my actual pick is Zion. If he's hurt, I'm going RJ.
I'm pretty torn between RJ Barrett and John Morant. I think Morant's that's his team. They've pretty much, he's a rookie, second pick overall, giving him the keys. And I think he's just so dynamic. He can do so many different things. So, I mean, I'd say Morant's probably my first, but I'm very torn between him and RJ Barrett.
Interesting. Yeah, Morant has a lot of options, too.
Do you have one, Patrick?
Not really.
Yeah, me neither.
I really like the John Morant pick just because
That's what I was gonna
I think Zion's out of it just because of the injury. I mean, 6 to 8 weeks, that's 2 months. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Right.
It's gonna be hard. Like, he might put up like the numbers worthy of it, but like the gameplay won't be there.
Well, and maybe it shows you, though, like what the Pelicans are without him and then what they are with him.
Maybe.
And so maybe that helps his case. That's
Perhaps.
But I like John Morant for sure.
Especially with those
That's my
Memphis
pick.
throwbacks.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, baby.
Has that been ordered yet off DHgate?
Not yet, but that's the next
It's
one.
We need to
That's
talk
the
to
next one.
DHgate about a sponsorship. We've mentioned them like 3 shows in a row.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not great. Okay, and then Coach of the Year. I got nothing for this one. So
Okay, my Coach of the Year pick, based solely on my hot take that this team's going to be really great, Nate McMillan for the Indiana Pacers, because first of all, he has actually a pretty solid resume after Paul George left. He came in, I think, a year after Paul George left. Pacers have been really solid. Last year they were good until Oladipo got hurt. And then this year, again, this is all based on me assuming Oladipo comes back and healthy and the Pacers are the team I think they are. But McMillan's always been really solid, always has great defenses, and if they shoot better, I really think they could jump up to a surprise team, and I think that would get him Coach of the Year.
I think I'm going to just, basic pick here probably. I think it's going to be Doc.
Ooh, yeah.
I like that.
The Clippers are just, through 2 games are just a scary-looking team. And Doc Rivers is, A, in my opinion, the best coach in the league at managing big personalities, and B, he's so underrated on his, his play, his drawing up plays, X's and O's. I think people overlook that because he's such he's just out there and he's like, this big name, and he's famous. He's famous, made his name coaching all these guys, like Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, all these guys. So I think he's just underrated as an actual X's and O's coach.
Yeah.
And I think the Clippers are just gonna be so far and away better than everybody.
Patrick, you have one? Brad Stevens.
No, I don't want to say Brad's. I don't think Brad Stevens. I don't think the Celtics are going to be good enough. I do like Doc. I do like the Pacers pick because I think they could surprise people. And I honestly don't really know many other coaches across the NBA, but I want to come in with a flying hot take here.
Okay.
That it's completely unbased in anything other than that he's not going to have to be LeBron's puppet this year in Luke Walton.
With the Kings?
If the Kings actually, if the Kings do
That's a scorcher.
I know. I said it was based on nothing because I know no one else is a coach.
So here's the thing.
I
I was
respect that.
just Googling who's the Kings head coach, so I'm with you.
I mean, if the Kings do just okay, maybe.
I have
If they
2
sneak into the 8th spot, maybe.
Well, I have 2 bubble teams that I feel like if they make a run to the playoffs, their coaches could get it, and that's the Kings and the Bulls. And those 2 teams are both 0-1.
Bulls would be
Bit
crazy
unfortunate.
because
Jim Boylan, who is that?
do you know what? Okay, so
I don't know a thing
last
about
year
I think Tom Thibodeau's got Ethan's vote.
No, he's my least favorite coach of all time. But no, so Jim Boylan last year, he took over as the interim, and the entire team hated him, and they they boycotted a practice because they hated him so much,
Oh,
and then
good.
by the end of the year, they like all really liked him, and now they all really like him.
Coach of the year.
So,
Boom.
Unreal. What a story.
Yeah, crazy. I don't really
But, like,
understand
yeah,
it.
That's
What
like,
a
I've never heard of that. Like just a guy turning a locker room around like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
It's movie.
Maybe they're not,
Yeah,
still not
seriously, it
good.
is.
They got to be a good team, but
Yeah.
that'd be crazy.
The
Alright.
Walton pick is just in me, like, just having to come up with a hot take because I don't want
No,
to
I
be
like
like,
it.
That's a
because I
very
do
hot
agree
take.
with the doc, and again, the Pacers could surprise people, but I wanted to be different, so.
I
I
like
think my backup pick too would be probably Quinn Snyder from the Jazz.
Ooh, that's a good one.
We can't do
I think-
backup picks.
That's a great
I
one.
think
He's
Utah's
won
gonna be
Coach of
really
the
good.
Year, right? Didn't he win it
I
like
think
two,
so.
2 or 3 years ago?
Alrighty. Well, I think that wraps up our show. We've just about hit 30 minutes now, so that's a good number there. Do you guys get in all the thoughts that you wanted to?
Yeah.
Any
Yeah.
final
And then,
thoughts?
of course, you'll probably be on the show again in the future. So you could always come back
Any
and throw
last-
something out there.
Any
Oh,
last
yeah.
Wiggins or Brad Wanamaker shots as we wrap up this first official meeting of the
Jeez.
Brad Wanamaker fan club
I think it's been good. You know, I think we've all said good things about our fearless leader.
about
Yep.
Bradley?
About our-
Fearless leader. They play tonight. He's going to go off.
He is. He's dropping 50.
Wow.
Imagine.
That's the hottest take of the
Who's
episode.
Kyrie?
I mean, in the battle of almost meaningless point guards last year, Brad Wanamaker beat out PJ Dozier.
It's true.
Yes, he did.
And I love me some PJ Dozier.
All
that's
right.
We
tough-
have the jersey,
tough
and it's
sell.
a real jersey.
Yes. Alrighty. Well, on that note, we're gonna call it a day. We hope you guys enjoyed this show coming to you on a Friday. We got a big weekend of sports ahead. All 3 sports playing this weekend. So that'll be fun to talk about when we come back at the start of next week. But that'll do it for this show. So we thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.